Hey, what's up? My name is Brent Pierce, and I own a podcast studio, and I get asked quite a bit, how do I launch a podcast? What gear do I need? How do I set it up? What do I buy? Help me launch a podcast. So in this video, I'm going to outline what you need to start a podcast. And I'm going to kind of go through a good, better, best scenario. So it really depends on how much money you want to invest in your podcast. And you know your show better than anybody else. So hopefully this insight will help you determine what you need to start your show. So first and foremost, we're going to start with audio. Audio is the most important part of a podcast. If you don't have good audio, then the rest of it does not matter. If you have great video, great lighting, a great set, a great concept, you could be a great host, you could have all those things, but if you have poor audio, the entire thing is going to be trash. So you're going to need good audio first and foremost. Again, throughout this video, we're going to be doing a good, better, best method. So for audio, the good method is to simply use your phone. This is an option for you to start recording literally right now because you probably have your phone in your pocket or in your hand, or you probably just looked at it when I said the word phone. But either way, you could use your phone to record. The audio is not going to be nearly as good as a professional microphone. And that brings us to the better option, which is indeed a professional microphone from Amazon. And they're actually not that expensive on Amazon. So let's hop over here to Amazon really quick. So I just typed in XLR USB podcast mic because you want an XLR cable for if you want to plug it into an audio mixer down the road. And you also want a USB cable to plug it into your computer or your phone to record. So we're going to need an XLR USB podcast mic. And here's what we get. First one on the list is $55. It's got over 4,000 reviews, so I imagine it's not terrible. Another thing to keep in mind, your microphone, yes, it needs to sound good, but also, kind of just as important, it needs to look good. Because if you're doing a video podcast, that mic is going to be right here, right in front of your face. They're going to have no choice but to kind of look at it. So if it looks ugly and janky and distracting, then it's defeating the purpose. So get you one that sounds good and looks good. Look at this one. This one looks really good. The Fifine, I don't know. I don't have any experience with these, by the way, so I'm not giving my recommendation, but I'm just saying you can get a quality sounding mic for like fairly cheap. This is $50, and it can't be that bad because it has over 2,000 ratings. So do your homework, and I'm sure there are plenty of YouTube videos where people are comparing these mics to like actual like production microphones. So definitely do your homework. The back of it, you'll see there's an XLR jack and a USB jack, so you can plug it into your console or your computer. There's a headphone dial and a mic gain dial, it looks like. So, and this one looks quality, right? This one doesn't have a stand, so you'll need to buy a stand, whereas this one has a built-in stand. Right. So keep that in mind. Obviously, you're going to need a way to mount it. I have this Elgato low profile arm, but a stand, a tabletop stand just like that would work just as fine. So lots of good options here. Yeah, so that's the better option. And the best option is actually right here, this Shure SM7B. The Shure SM7B is the premium podcasting microphone. It's kind of the microphone that kind of started it all, right? It's the original, the OG podcast mic. If you've ever looked at a professional podcaster like Joe Rogan or a myriad of other people, they're going to be using probably like 90% of the time, they're going to have a Shure SM7B. It's just the mic that has created a statement in the industry. It sounds good and it looks good. The Shure SM7B is a $400 microphone. If you buy these used, there are some fake Shure SM7Bs because they're so popular that there have been Chinese companies that make them and resell them. So keep that in mind. If you don't want a fake one, then you're going to probably want to buy it new off of a reputable website. Or you could just get a fake one. That's fine. I mean, it probably sounds good enough and it looks real on camera. So you do you. By the way, if you want a alternative to the Shure SM7B that sounds good and still looks professional, you could get this guy. This is the Rode PodMic USB version. I like the look of them. They look classy. They're black. It comes with a windscreen if you want to do a windscreen. And yeah, also keep in mind, you're probably going to need multiple of these, right? So you may be thinking like, oh, $200, that's not bad. Or $400, I can afford that. But if you're outfitting a whole set, you're going to need 2 or 4 or 6 of them, right? And that will add up pretty quick. So keep that in mind. Okay, so we covered audio. Next, we're going to cover how do we record the microphone. Right? If you have a mic, but you don't have a way to record it, then that defeats the purpose, right? Good, better, best method. The good method, again, is the free method that you probably have in your pocket, and that is to simply record to your phone. Again, you want to take this USB cable, plug it into your phone, and then use whatever app you have, voice recording, memo app. There's probably some other fancy apps you can download that will record the audio. That's a great feature. Just note that if you have 2 people, it's going to be kind of hard to figure that out, right? You're going to need an interface, or you're going to need 2 different recording devices, and then you're going to have to bring them together in post. You could do something like that. But if you're doing a solo podcast episode and you have 1 mic, you can very easily plug it into your phone and get good quality audio. The better option would be to plug it into your computer and use a software like Riverside. Riverside is a virtual podcasting software that records your video and your audio, and it has a virtual studio for your guests. So they join, think of it like Zoom, except it's specifically designed for podcasters. It records their high quality video. You can download video tracks separately. It's actually very intuitive. It gives you a transcript. It will even cut you social media clips. It's pretty intuitive. If you don't want to use Riverside, if you don't want to pay for that, you could use OBS. And OBS has been around for a very long time, and people use it to stream. People use it to record. People use it for all kinds of stuff. So check out OBS on your computer. But if you want the best method to record your audio, you're going to want something like the Rodecaster Pro 2. This is a hardware recording device also made by Rode, and you can plug 4 XLR inputs. You can also plug it into your computer and use that as an input, and it will allow you to stream through that USB as well. You can have sound effects. You've got headphone outs that you can control. You've got effects. You got the whole 9 yards. That is a proper professional audio recorder. There's also other brands that make versions of that. So if you don't want to get the Rodecaster Pro 2, you could get Tascam makes one, and I'm sure there are plenty others on the market, but that is a hardware recording device that is a standalone device. Its only sole purpose is to record audio, so you know it's going to be good. So you've got your phone, you've got your computer with some software, or you've got a hardware like the Rodecaster Pro 2. So that is how you record your audio. Next, we're going to talk about how you listen to your audio. Most of the time nowadays, by the way, I don't use headphones for my podcasting. I don't know. I like the natural interaction of like talking to the camera and listening to my computer coming from over there. If I'm doing a virtual interview, or especially if I'm doing an in-person interview, nowadays I like doing no headphones. But there are times where I have used headphones in the past, as you can see on my previous podcast. So if you choose to use headphones, the free method is to use those Bluetooth earbuds. Use the earbuds that you got. I don't love the look of earbuds, but you can love them or hate them or take them or leave them, whatever the phrase is, you can do that. Or you can get the better option, which is to get some proper headphones. Another thing to keep in mind, just like the microphone, it's going to be seen in the shot, right? So it needs to be functional, but it also needs to look cool, right? It needs to fit your vibe. The ones I use in studio are the Audio-Technica's ATH M50s right here. I have various ones of these. Those are $150. So again, if you're going to need multiple, it might get a little pricey there, but I'm sure there's like some $50 ones. These ones look pretty cool. I don't know what this brand is, but they look pretty cool, and they're $36. So I don't know how good they're going to sound, but all you're really doing is listening to someone talk. So like you don't necessarily need a huge high fidelity system as if you were like mixing music, you know what I mean? Definitely you want to be able to hear the person clearly, but all you're doing is listening to voices. You're not listening to music. So these are pretty cool. You know what's funny? This image of that guy is a stock image of a podcaster. We used that years ago. They used it here and they just photoshopped on those headphones. That is so funny. This guy, whoever that is, his photo is getting used all across the internet. All across the internet. Okay, so you could get some decently priced headphones Or the best option is to get custom in-ear monitors. Now, these in-ear monitors, typically you will get a mold of your ear and then you'll send it off to the company. They will make custom shaped in-ear monitors and they'll send them to you, and they're pretty solid, right? There's a little cable that goes up. They're very low profile. Sometimes you can't even notice if people are wearing them at the right angle. In-ear monitors are going to be the top of the line, the best of the best. So we've talked about audio. We've talked about recording the audio, listening to the audio. Now let's talk about the camera. If you want to do a video podcast, clearly, obviously, in the name, you're going to need a video camera. So good, better, best. Good, obviously, I'm going to say just use your phone that you have in your pocket, right? There's a reoccurring theme. Just use the computer that you have in your pocket that is very capable of doing a lot of things really well. Use this to record yourself while you're recording your podcast. I will say you will need a tripod, a phone tripod. You can get these little small tabletop tripods where you put your phone here and it records. Make sure you're using the back camera instead of the front camera. Typically the back camera is going to be a whole lot better. So if you do that, you're not going to be able to see the screen. So maybe put like a mirror on the other side. I don't know. I'm sure you could get creative to be able to see your screen as you're recording it. But that's the free and the good method. The better method is to get a proper video camera. And the proper video camera that I always recommend, at least right now, I know technology is changing, so in a year or two or three, this recommendation might change. But the camera that I recommend people get is the Sony ZV-E10. That little camera packs a punch. So this is the Sony ZV-E10. As you can see, it has a little flip out LCD right there. It records 4K. It comes with a lens. It's $700. You can't go wrong, right? And the lens that it comes with is a 16 to 50. That means it zooms out to 16 or it zooms slightly in to 50, right? So you got a little bit of a range there. So the better method is a Sony ZV-E10. Keep in mind, you will still need a tripod. Okay, while we're on the topic, let's figure out a tripod to get, because don't buy the cheapest tripod. Don't go to Walmart and buy like a $15 tripod. You will very quickly outgrow that tripod. See these little like aluminum ones that are extremely lightweight? Stay away from those, please. There's also K&F is a brand that I see on Amazon quite a bit right here. K&F Concepts. That's $100, right? So you're going to be spending a little bit on a tripod, but you're going to need a quality tripod, right? Don't trust your brand new $700 camera on a little flimsy $15 tripod. That's just not how it works. Sony ZV-E10 on a quality tripod. And the best method, if you really want to spend some money, if you're like looking for an excuse to spend money on this podcast studio, or maybe you're outfitting a podcast studio that you're going to make money off of to rent it out to people, the best camera that you can get for podcasting right now is the Sony FX30. It is a professional camera by Sony. Again, the other one was by Sony as well. Sony FX30. You can see it's getting up there in price though, right? Like we went from like $700 to almost $2,000 without a lens, right? So we increased our budget by quite a bit. That's what I'm saying. Like buy what you can afford, okay? Don't just buy the best just because a dude on the internet is telling you to buy the best. Buy what you need for your scenario and for your podcast studio. So this is the FX30. Again, this does not have a lens with it. Can we find a kit lens right here? 18 to 105. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So this is a kit, the FX30, $2,100. Get a tripod, get a good tripod for it. But this camera is solid. It's got great autofocus. It's amazing in low light. If you wanted to branch out and do some brand stuff or even some photography, you could take it off the tripod and get some amazing video with it. It's a solid camera. I have a lot of friends who use that camera and I highly recommend it. If you want a full frame version of this, again, if you don't know what crop frame or full frame is, just ignore what I'm about to say. But if you want a full frame version of this, the FX3 is the one you want. But again, that's more money. The FX30 is pretty much just as good, except it's a crop sensor. So those are your cameras. Either use your phone, use the ZV-E10, or use the FX30. Now, with cinematography comes lighting. You're going to need some quality lighting to get your studio looking good. You can't just put up cameras and hope it looks the best, right? That's not how it works. I have devoted the majority of my career to cinematography. So I love cinematography. I eat, sleep, and breathe cinematography. So I'm going to try not to go down too much of a rabbit hole here, but cinematography is very important. And within cinematography, of course, that we're talking about is lighting. The lighting is very important. The good news is that you can achieve good lighting with just a window. Okay? Find a window in your house and put the window behind the camera so the light hits you in the face. Okay. The wrong thing to do would be to position yourself so the window is behind you. It might seem like a good idea because you want to see outside, but it's so bright back there, you would have to compensate so much with an artificial light up here that it's almost just not even worth it. Either black out the window and get yourself a light, or reposition yourself so the window is behind the camera. That's the free version. Okay. That's the good method. The better method is, again, go on Amazon, spend a couple $100 and get you 2 light panels. A brand that I like, that I recommend to a lot of people, is GVM. I would recommend getting a couple panels just for the simplicity of using a panel. You just put it there and you turn it on. These panels, it's a good starting point. Again, I love cinematography, so I would recommend spending a lot more money on lights, but you can get 2 panels for $174, and that'll get you most of the way there, right? Put a panel over here, bright, put a panel over here, slightly not as bright, and then you're off to the races. If you want the best method, that would be to buy a professional lighting system with a professional modifier. And the lights that I recommend are by Amaran. So get you a bunch of Amaran 60Ds, $170. You're going to need a modifier with it. The modifier that I would get would be a 42-inch softbox is like a good, it's like a good size. It's not quite 4 feet, but it's bigger than 3 feet. So I would get a 42-inch softbox and put it on the light, get you a couple of them. These lights also come with these grids. I wish I could show you here. I got grids on all these lights. My other videos kind of cover it. The grid helps control the light. So yes, it'll be soft, but that light's not just going to go all over the place. You're going to be able to control it a little bit. So anyways, the best method would be to get an Amaran light with a soft box on it. So you've got your window that's free, you've got your cheaper lights from Amazon, and then you got your big boy lights, the Amaran lights. So we covered audio, we covered camera, we covered lighting. Now let's get to the set design. Right? The stuff behind me, that's all set design. You want it to be clean. You also want it to lend itself to the show, right? Like, what are you talking about? Are you talking about mental health? Well, maybe make it look mental healthy. Are you talking about movies? Then put some movie posters up, right? Lend itself. Use the set to tell your story. Everything's about story. I'm not going to get on a soapbox here about storytelling because I will, but everything's about story. So use your set to tell your story. You can start, first of all, with the decorations that you have, okay? Go around your house, find decorations, find posters, find a couch, find fake plants, find room dividers, find whatever you already have, and then make something out of it. You would be surprised how good you can make a set just with all the random stuff that you have. A lot of these sets started out with just random stuff that I had, and then I slightly upgraded, right? I would go to Goodwill and I would buy stuff, or I'd buy stuff from IKEA or Facebook Marketplace. So the better option would be strategic furniture. So I started buying strategic things, like strategic furniture and strategic decor, right? We have a rug underneath me. I've got a room divider there that we got from IKEA. There's also lights behind there. There's plants. There's an old film light over there, a record player right there. There's various things that help make this feel comfortable. Okay, so I added to it. And then I added lights. You can add practical lights. This is 2 Amazon lights back there that change color, shining through the room divider. I put an LED strip in the old film light to make that kind of a set decor, a cool little vibe. And then there's just an IKEA light there, right? Just decorated it up a little bit, and it looks pretty good. And keep in mind, sometimes less is more, right? A lot of times I feel like I just need to stuff the background with random stuff, random books, random decor, random things. But when you take all that stuff away, sometimes it looks better. And again, it's less distracting, which is the whole point. So people can look at you and not get distracted by all the things on the wall. Okay, so that is the set design. So now you've got your studio looking good, feeling good, sounding good, lit up very well. Now, how do you record it? We're going to start with audio only. Okay. If you're starting out a podcast and it seems very daunting thinking about doing a video podcast and like everything that goes into a podcast, starting a podcast is kind of a big deal. So like, first of all, kudos to you for taking that step. But a video podcast is so much harder than just an audio podcast. So I always recommend people to start with just an audio podcast. And we already talked about how to record that, right? Record it into your phone or record it onto the computer with the software. Audio only is the good way to start. The better way to start is, again, plugging your camera into Riverside. And then you get video and audio. And then you can create little social shorts from that automatically within Riverside. It's quite great. That's the better method. The best method, if you want to spend money, the best method to get multiple cameras to record multiple people is to get a hardware switcher. The switcher that I use is made by a company called Blackmagic, and it is called the ATEM Mini Pro ISO. They have different flavors of the ATEM Mini. They have the ATEM Mini, they have the ATEM Mini Pro, they have the ATEM Mini Pro ISO, and then they have the ATEM Mini Extreme, which gives you 8 inputs. Okay, so that is using a hardware device to record all your cameras, and that's the best method to do it. Again, there are probably other companies that have switchers. The tried and true one is the ATEM Mini. For the price and for what you need it to do, the ATEM Mini is going to be your answer. And you can use that switcher, plug it into your computer, so your computer sees it as a webcam. You can do a lot of fun stuff with it. You can do graphics and like star wipes and stuff like that, which is really, let's be honest, that's the whole reason you're paying for it, is for the star wipes. So that's how you record it. And then you would take that file and you would edit it. Speaking of, how do we edit it? The free option to edit is you got it, your phone. Use CapCut. I don't recommend this, but you can do it if you're in a pinch and it's all you got. But very quickly, it will get frustrating for you. It can be done, okay? It can be done free with the device you have. It can be done. But the better method would be to use DaVinci Resolve, the free version of DaVinci Resolve. It's free. Download it. There's definitely going to be a learning curve because it's not designed to just click and go, right? You're definitely going to have to watch some tutorial videos and spend a few weeks figuring it out before you're really comfortable in it. But once you are comfortable in it, yeah, you're going to be able to edit it so much better than you would be with just simple CapCut. Okay, so that's DaVinci Resolve free. The best method is to hire somebody to do it for you. There are plenty of people on the internet using Upwork or Fiverr who would be more than happy to edit your podcast for you. They're going to be able to do it 117 times faster than you. The product's going to be better. It's just overall going to be a better experience. And if you tell them, hey, I want you to work on this for an hour, and their hourly rate is $15 or $25 or whatever, that's $25. That's not that bad, right? You could do that once a week. So the best method is to hire somebody to do that. If you want to learn editing, you could download DaVinci Resolve and do it. If you want to drive yourself crazy, you could try to do it in CapCut. Either way, that is how you edit the podcast. Speaking of editing, let's get into the music. I use music with all my podcasts. They intro with a show song. The thing is, you can't use just a random song from Spotify or from YouTube. Okay, there are some legality issues, there's some licensing issues, and you don't want to get shut down. So you're going to have to use a royalty-free song. There are free websites that you can get songs from. There's a free one called Pixabay that you can check out. The one that I use is the better method, and that is called Soundstripe. I have used Soundstripe for I don't know how many years now, honestly. I was one of their early customers when they first came out. It's a subscription plan. You pay monthly and you get to download their songs. And they are quality songs. And I use them on pretty much every project. Very rarely do I use a different website for my royalty-free songs. Soundstripe has never failed me. I'm a huge fan of Soundstripe. Check them out. The best method, if you really want to spend money, the best method would be to hire somebody to create a custom song. Okay, they would create a custom song where only you would have that song. So you're not going to hear it on a commercial on TV, or you're not going to hear it on another podcast or anything like that. You would obviously have to pay them. Again, you could find Upwork or Fiverr, pay them money, and they will make you a custom song. So that would be the best method. I would recommend using Soundstripe. It's affordable as well. So there is the music. So After you edit your episode, now you have your file, you have this beautiful video, it's got music, it's got transitions, it's got beautiful lighting, it's got great sound, it's got all the things. What do you do with it now? Well, with podcasting, you have to have a hosting service. So you have to have a website where you upload the file to, and it lives in the cloud. And then all the other sites, all the other podcast services like Spotify, like Apple Podcasts, like YouTube Podcasts, and all the other podcast services, they pull from that cloud. So you have to have a hosting service that you pay for. The one I use is Podbean. I have used it since the beginning, and they've never failed me. It's super easy. It's super intuitive. It's very affordable. Podbean is the one that I use. There are plenty others on the market. If we just Google podcast hosting here, all of these popped up. The only one I have experience with is Podbean. That's first on the list. There's also Buzzsprout, Libsyn, Transistor, Castos, Simplecast, Blueberry, I assume is how you're supposed to say that, but that looks like Blubbery. Captivate, Spreaker, I've heard of Spreaker, Anchor, that one, Spotify for podcasters, which is now actually called Spotify for creators, Acast, Megaphone, SoundCloud, you get the idea. There's a bunch of podcast hosting platforms out there. Again, the one I use and the one that's tried and true, and I use it for all my clients, is Podbean. Okay, up next, we're going to talk about branding. Branding is important. You're going to need a logo. You're going to need colors. You're going to need a banner for YouTube. You're going to need a banner for all the platforms, right? So you're going to need a logo. The good method of making a logo is go to Canva. They have plenty of podcasting templates. Open one up and then start customizing it. The better method is to have a photo shoot and then use those photos in that Canva template, right? Whatever your branding thing is, throw a photo of you. It's much more interesting to see a face of the podcaster on the logo. I like having pictures on the podcast logos. So you can add a photo shoot, and the best method, again, is to simply hire a professional on Upwork or Fiverr or plenty of other websites out there. A professional graphic designer will do you wonders. And if you go in with clear expectations and a budget and you say, hey, I have $250, I want you to make me a podcast banner, and I want you to give me a whole branding guide, you will have much more success when you know what you want. I have so many clients that don't know what they want, and those are my least favorite clients to work with because they don't know what they want. You know, you got to know what you want to get what you want. So Canva template, photo shoot, hire an expert. Next, we're going to talk about the website, or this could actually be called online presence. Okay, up first, you need a YouTube channel. Okay. YouTube channels where you're going to put all your videos, you're going to put your shorts out there, and they will perform well. You're going to need a YouTube channel. You're also probably going to need an Instagram page. The better method would be to have a standalone website for your podcast. Luckily, Podbean, like I mentioned earlier, they have a feature where you can create a website within Podbean. And it's super easy. You just plug in your logo, your banner, your info, and then every time you upload a podcast to Podbean, it automatically populates it in there. So that's what we have. I highly recommend it. It's easy. It's also included with your Podbean subscription. So there's really no reason not to. And the best method would be to hire a professional website designer. I don't recommend that. You don't need that. If you're really making some money with your podcast and you want to do it full time forever, that might be the best method, but for 99.99% of us, a Podbean website connected to our YouTube and Instagram and all the other stuff will do just fine. Okay, that's kind of everything you need to go. Some other tips are I would recommend recording multiple episodes before you start publishing, right? So don't record an episode and then get so excited and publish it because now you don't have any more content, right? You got to make content to release content. Okay. So you want a stack of like 10 episodes before you press publish, because the worst thing in the world is having to do the podcast just to keep it afloat, right? Unless you're like a current events podcast, in which case, yeah, you would record and then release the same day. Like that's fine. But definitely record multiple episodes before launching. Also, make it a routine. Put it in your calendar. Right? Maybe Tuesday mornings are your podcasting time. Put it in your calendar so nobody takes that time away from you, because You're probably busy. You probably have a lot of things on your calendar, and podcasting isn't going to pay you. So naturally, it will get pushed down on the priority list. And then you'll be like, oh man, I haven't recorded in weeks, right? So put it in your calendar, protect that time, and make it a routine. Put it in your schedule. Also, prepare each episode. Don't just go into each episode and think, you know what, I'm just going to talk and I'm just going to spitball it and I'm going to shoot from the hip and hopefully it turns out to be good. Don't do that. Prepare. Even if you shoot from the hip and it turns out to be good, you will look at all your episodes and you'll see that the episodes that you prepared for were better. Okay, you felt better, you spoke better, especially if you have guests. If you have a guest coming on, do your research. Okay, spend an hour stalking them on LinkedIn or go to YouTube and find every piece of content they've put out. Listen to how they talk, right? You want to get to know them before you have them on your show. It also helps to do a little pre-meeting. It doesn't have to be long, just like a little 15-minute phone call before the episode, like a few days or a week before the episode. I have found that helps me get to know the guest a little bit. So anyways, that's a lot of what you need to know. I don't want to say that's everything, but that's a lot of what you need to know to launch a podcast. I'm sure I missed something. So if you watched this, first of all, if you got this far in the video, kudos to you. I hope it was insightful and I hope it answered any questions that you had. Like I said, if I missed anything, which I am 100% sure I did, let me know in the comments. But for the most part, this will get you going. This will get you started. Again, kudos to you for starting a podcast, for wanting to start a podcast. It's clear that you care enough about this to watch this video and to get this far in the video. So definitely keep following that goal of launching your podcast. I would say also set small goals. Okay. Go into this podcast, not to say that you're going to do this podcast for the rest of your career or you're going to make it your new career. Go into this podcast simply thinking, I'm going to release 10 episodes. That's it. I'm going to get to 10 episodes and then I'm going to assess the situation, figure out if it's something that I like, figure out if I need to pivot or change the format or whatever. Just go in with the goal of creating 10 episodes. Because if you don't, you're going to get burned out on episode 2 and you're going to think, man, this was harder than I thought, or episode 4 or episode 5. But at least if your goal is a very easily attainable 10 episodes, you can do it. And then from there, the sky's the limit, right? Thousands of episodes. Kudos to you. Thanks for watching. Let me know if I missed anything. And yeah, happy podcasting.